Good morning. Welcome to Mullin It Over here on Thursday, May 26th. It's now episode 45. Thanks for tuning in here on Heart of Ohio Sports. First, folks, if you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, whatever you're watching, please make sure you share the video. It helps us extend our reach and reach new audiences that we just aren't able to reach without your help. So thank you for watching, and please make sure you share the video during the live stream. That way more people can tune in while we're live. Thanks again. Once again, this is Mullin It Over, episode 45. Let's talk about the weather here in Tiffin, Ohio. Now, we have a baseball game to cover tonight. We're at Bluffton University to cover the Tiffin Columbian versus Ontario game. Now, this is a district semifinal. I keep saying regional, but it is a district semifinal matchup. And this is a game that, as I was looking at the calendar, I'm looking at the weather throughout this week. Thursday looked like it was going to be the hardest one to get a game in, and we're hoping for the best today because, folks, today, thunderstorms are likely at various times throughout the day. The highs are going to be in the upper 70s, overnight low of 60, but it's going to rain off and on throughout the day. So fingers crossed, we hope we get this game in. We're going to prepare like we do have a game, but let's hope for the best with the weather because it's out of our control. Let's take a look at the events in Tiffin. For that, we go to Destination Seneca County for the community calendar. That's right. And right now, it's a beautiful day. And it's not really a beautiful day yet, but it's getting there.
It's spotty.
It's spotting there. So, first of all, Greg, you and I were talking a little bit before we got started today about different things that are going on in Tiffin and Seneca County. And one of the things that kind of caught my eye was the ribbon cutting ceremony at, Nature Trails Park?
Yep.
So this is at the end of West Davis Street. Now, this is something that, Greg, for a while, this is a park that gets unnoticed, I guess. Maybe the people in that community really know about that park. It's a hidden gem in that community. But it's something that I don't think a lot of people know about outside of that community.
Well, right, and because before this, there really wasn't much down there in ways of equipment. It was like one shelter with a couple of picnic tables and maybe a swing set, if I remember correctly, but there really wasn't much of a park there to begin with.
Yeah, and so they've done a little bit of renovating, and they've installed some new equipment. There's some new things for you to enjoy there, and they're doing the ribbon cutting today. That is at 4 o'clock at Nature Trails Park. Join the chamber for the ribbon cutting in partnership with Tiffin Parks and Recreation. The newly renovated Nature Trails Park. It's an 11-acre park off East Davis Street. East, not West Davis. Whoops. It's on the banks of the Sandusky River. With a picnic shelter and river access, this park is perfect for the whole family to enjoy. The city of Tiffin is currently renovating the park with funds from the state of Ohio from the CDBG program. The improvements to Nature Trails Park will include adding paved walking trails, benches, a barbecue grill, and a new playground. That's right, kids. You're going to get a new playground in that area. So, hats off to the Parks Department and the city of Tiffin for putting this together and making sure that, our parks truly are, Greg, a destination in this town.
That makes me wonder, Nate, they're going to do some paved trails there connecting that or whatever. I know they've got nice paved paths over at Oakley Park. I know they've got a really nice paved path at the end of, I think it's Water Street, I believe.
Yeah.
And, all these things, I believe they talked about a couple years ago. At some point in time, I think all these things are supposed to connect together to make like a cross-town bike path type of walking path thing. So hopefully this is just in addition to that.
This is something that has been talked about for a few years now. Now, I did a Mullin It Over in 2019, I think, and it was, or maybe it was 18. But it was, I rode my bike along the newly paved bike trail. We did that together. You and I both did that. Yeah, it was fun. So we did part of the bike path, and I was excited to see how that thing would develop over the next few years. Now, COVID kind of ruined some things and kind of delayed some projects, but they're back on track, and this is just part of that project. And like I said, Greg, I'm really excited about this one because it just adds to the beauty that is the Tiffin Parks and Recreation Department, because
this town just keeps getting more and more beautiful as we go along. The way that they've been redoing things, the downtown projects, all the parks, everything's been really, really nice looking. It just keeps getting better looking.
Oh, absolutely. And Bryce Kuhn and his staff do a great job over there. So hats off to the Tiffin Parks and Recreation Department. Make sure you check out the ribbon cutting ceremony today at 4 o'clock. Once again, that's at Nature Trails Park at the end of East Davis in Tiffin. Another event that caught my eye, it always catches my eye, Therapy Thursdays at the Lab. That's right, at the Laird Arcade Brewery. Escape the stress and enjoy a good book, a beer, and a massage. That's right. You can get yourself a massage, you can have a beer, and Pan Yan bookstore set up on location in the Laird Arcade. Just another great thing to do on Thursdays here in Tiffin. And it's not even part of the Third Thursdays event. So once again, make sure you check out Therapy Thursdays at the Lab. That's pretty much it for the community calendar for today, Thursday, May 26th. Now let's take a look at the Advertiser Tribune for our headlines. That's right, headlines. Every morning we take a look at the Advertiser Tribune first to check out what's going on in our area because, well, that's most important to us. We want to figure out what's happening in our area. And one of the things that really caught my eye, obviously it's right there front and center. First thing you read, Alt wins judge race. That's right. Damon Alt has won. He was declared the presumable judge-elect for the Seneca County Common Pleas Court after he garnered 10 more votes than Ken Clayson Wednesday during their official vote count. Wow. 10 votes, Greg.
Yeah, how could you get closer than that? Like,
wow.
Really? They always say every vote counts, and it couldn't be more true right there. 10 vote difference.
Well, if it's that close, why can't we just say, one gets one day, one gets another day? You guys just split weeks, like just alternate judges. I mean, it's obvious they both were very popular in the community. Everybody wanted, there's an equal amount of people almost that wanted both people to be judge. Maybe I'm just.
There are no ties, Nate.
Yeah, I know. In Tiffin Youth Football there are. Damn it.
I just got to poke at you.
That's for another day. That's going to be a podcast, Greg. We're going to have to go off. We're going to have to talk about that on a podcast. Anyways, so let's talk about this judge race. So this was something that they couldn't decide on election night. This was earlier this month that we voted on this.
Yeah, it said that he was shown on election night just to be one vote ahead.
Yeah. I noticed that on election night.
Clayson was one vote ahead, actually. So, yeah, they had to do a recount or something, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So there were 62 provisional ballots from people who had moved, changed their name, or similar issues. They rejected 15 provisional ballots, mainly from people who voted in the wrong precinct, but also 2 that weren't registered in Ohio and 1 who voted in the wrong county. Board member Nancy Grandillo was absent. In addition, the board accepted ballots from 13 people who voted curbside at polling locations, 5 absentee ballots that arrived in the mail after May 3rd, but before the May 13th deadline, and rejected 3 absentee ballots that had no postmark or arrived after the deadline. So
man, that just sounds like a headache.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, can you imagine that job that they have to do? If it's close at all of a sudden now your job, which, most of these people, they're paid for it, but it's pretty much like a volunteer job, essentially. Yeah, you're paid, but not very well.
It's not a career to make.
Exactly. It's not exactly a career that anyone chooses. It's just something that they want to do as a civic duty to their community. It's a good thing, obviously. I'm not bashing it at all, but it's...
I couldn't imagine the amount of stress there involved with all the fine-tooth comb that you have to use to go through all those votes and saying, oh, you're in the wrong precinct, you weren't registered right, oh my goodness.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of my thought process with the whole thing. I'm like, I don't know how anybody would sign up for that job knowing that is a possibility of something that could happen. But hats off to everyone involved with that process because, I couldn't do it.
Right. Somebody's got to do it, and it's got to be done right. So
yeah, exactly. It was definitely done right. And hats off to Damon Alt with a big win. He secures the presumable judge-elect for Seneca County Common Pleas Court. Also, hats off to Ken Clayson and the other people who ran. Clayson, he was a really great candidate. He was my coach on the Celebrity All-Star team. And I had a chance to kind of talk with him a little bit. I'm not going to tell who I voted for, but I think they both have their merits, and I think Seneca County picked the right guy, obviously, because he's got the job. So
I do
hats
see
off
here.
to Damon Alt, and congratulations to Ken Clayson on a successful race. I mean, you can't, even though you only lost by 10 votes. So I consider that a success.
And hats off to tip our hat to Ken Egbert Jr.
Yes.
He got 1,600 votes. I didn't even realize there was that many extra votes going out to somebody else still. So
Yeah.
that's a nice little chunk of votes to get there. So congratulations again.
Another headline here on the Advertiser. This one off to the side on the left margin here. This one's probably my favorite headline to read every year because it just tells me summer's here. That's right, folks. The pool opens Memorial Day. That's right. This Monday, Tiffin's swimming pool at Hedges Boyer Park will be open from 1 to 7 p.m. And it will be open, weather permitting, every day through mid-August. Season passes are $10 per person this year, and one-day admission is $5 per person. Season memberships may be purchased online at tiffinparks.com/pool. So make sure you visit the Tiffin Parks website to get yourself a season pass. $10 for a season pass? Come on, folks. That's a steal.
Whoa.
And I mean, it's essentially like a babysitter for the summer. Because I mean, what kid, if he's got a pool pass, what kid's not going to want to spend almost every day of the week at the pool this summer?
Right.
You know?
And here's a little information I didn't know. Some other people probably knew about this, but I didn't know that you could rent the pool for 2-hour chunks of time. Yeah.
Yeah. So admission for children ages 2 and under is free. Now the pool rentals, as Greg was talking about, they're available from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. or from 5 to 7 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays. The price is $150 for 1 to 25 people and an additional $25 for each extra 25 people, not including spectators. For more information on Tiffin Park and Recreation programs, visit tiffinparks.com or email parksdepartment@tiffinohio.gov. Once again, I just can't say enough about our parks department because, well, I love parks. I love to go spend some time in nature, just walking around, enjoying the sights and the sounds.
Right. And it's nice to have so many in our community and for each of them to be so nice. They're well taken care of.
Tiffin Parks and Recreation, Seneca County Parks and Recreation. These are they do such an outstanding job. And a lot of these, Seneca County is mostly volunteers. Tiffin, they have a short staff. They don't exactly have a great big staff to be able to keep up on these parks. So folks, if you enjoy these parks, make sure you do your part to keep these parks clean. If you're out and walking around in these parks and you're enjoying yourself and you like the atmosphere, keep it that way. As I always say, leave it like you found it or leave it better than you found it. Sometimes you got to pick up other people's trash if you want to make the world a better place. That's just how it is.
We definitely make sure that we do that when we're down there for youth football.
Absolutely.
We don't even leave a water bottle or those kids be running around.
Softballs, golf balls, Gatorade bottles, all that stuff. We found it. All kinds of stuff down there at the football fields. So, and ruts in the JV football field, like idiots. Anyways, there's one more headline here on the Advertiser before we move on to my favorite part of mulling it over. So students from Washington K-1 Elementary School play on the playground Wednesday during the district's last day of the school year. That's right. Yesterday was the last day of school. So students got out and they had a good time. Let's just say that. Field days were in abundant and a lot of students were just having a good time. Greg, what do you remember about field day the most? Like when I was in school, I remember it was, classes versus other classes. So, when you got to high school, it was freshmen and juniors versus sophomores and seniors. They teamed those students up. Or we would do sophomores and juniors versus freshmen and seniors or whatever. And then they would do various events and different things. And then we'd keep tally of score. It was almost like an Olympics kind of. Right. Do you remember anything like that?
Well, more of my memories come from like elementary school, the younger years and stuff. And I just remember it being awesome because it was fun.
Yes.
I remember it being like, oh, this isn't school. We're not in school. We're actually doing something fun. So like, it just felt like the biggest, most fun party that you could be having as a young kid in elementary school. And it was the end of the school year. So you knew that more party was coming on. So
that's right. One thing
summertime.
I did notice, Calvert posted a picture after their last day of school, which I think was this past Friday, where the elementary students in the school were signing the seniors' shirts as they left. So all these seniors are walking around with signatures all over their shirts. I think that's really cool. I thought that was pretty cool to do and to be able to have the elementary students involved in that.
That's really awesome.
I mean,
actually, it's kind of funny. I picked up my nephew from school. He's in like the pre-K yesterday, and he came out wearing a really big, long white shirt with the kids signed their names on it from his little pre-K class. And I was like, dude,
so
that's
cool.
awesome. Had his name on the bag. He was
That's
just
awesome.
all smiles coming out with that shirt on. I was like,
yeah.
dude, that's so cool.
Well, and I love that they get him a big shirt so that eventually they might be able to wear that again.
Yep, we can grow into it. Keep it around for a while.
The goal is you wear that your pre-K day, and then maybe you might be able to fit into it as a senior, and you wear it again. And you have those same friends sign it again if they're still around, you know?
I don't think they made shirts that big for me when I was in pre-K.
Yeah, well. All right, that's pretty much it for the Advertiser Tribune. Once again, folks, pick up a copy of your local newspaper and read those headlines for yourself. There's plenty more that I didn't dig into because there's some things that, well, let's just face it, I'm not going to talk about on this show. This is sports and variety, and we try to keep it light, and we're going to avoid politics. We're going to avoid religion. We're going to avoid all those hot button topics that you can find somewhere else. If you're looking for all that stuff, there's plenty of sources on the internet to find everything you want. But you're not going to find it here. Sorry. I'm not going to read any of that crap.
So most, like, at least half the news is not happy-go-lucky or anything like that. So if you want to be bummed out, you got to go check that out on your own.
That's right. Absolutely right. So you want to talk about news that I like. Well, a lot of times I go to Reddit for news that I like, and that's an offbeat. Like, there's some great stories in there, and that's where I find a lot of this weird news stuff that we like to talk about here on Mullin It Over. Now, one of these stories that kind of caught my eye here, Greg, and you and I were laughing about this one before. So this is relevantmagazine.com. I don't know if it's relevant or not, but we'll see. Here's the title. We'll just read the title. 6% of Americans think they could beat a grizzly bear in hand-to-hand combat. Greg, what's your thoughts? Do you think you could beat a grizzly bear hand-to-hand?
No, absolutely not.
No?
I'm definitely not. I'm in the 94%, obviously.
All right.
Me versus a grizzly bear, I'm done, man. I'm done.
Now,
it's a grizzly bear.
Yeah. I'm friends with a couple guys on Facebook, and the posts that I see from these guys, now these guys are muscle-bound. They're bodybuilders. They're out there trying to, make themselves as big as they can possibly be. I would put money on a couple of these guys against a bear, but I don't know. Then again, the bear, if he really wants to, he could just maul you and rip your head off. So, I mean, I guess you could play around with the bear and try to fight it, but the whole idea of, what was that movie where Leo DiCaprio fought that bear off? What was that called?
Oh, man, what was that movie called?
Departed or something? Is that what it was called?
I think so.
Anyways, that's not real. Like, that's not really feasible, folks.
Oh, my God.
It just doesn't happen very often. So I read articles like this, and I'm like, where are they getting these numbers for? Now, this study, it kind of shines a light on the depths of delusion and the wrongness in the heart of men, because they released a new study on just what members of the animal kingdom Americans think they could take on.
Yeah, I'm just now seeing this here.
Of the 15 animals listed, rat came in last place, with 72% of Americans thinking they could take on a rat. Even that sounds a little optimistic because, well, rats are faster than you. I mean, they avoided the plague, come on.
It's a weird way of thinking about it, because it's like, do I think that I could overpower, squash, and like destroy a rat? Yeah. Do I think a rat's much faster than me? Oh yeah. Am I terrified of one? Yes. So can I versus will I take on a rat is two different things, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
But
I think the surprising thing for me here, Greg, was that grizzly bear was the most feared animal on this list. Let me list off some of these animals that are on this list. Okay, so it starts with rat being the most likely that people think they can beat up. And then it goes down. House cat at 69%. Goose at 61%. Medium-sized dog, 49%. An eagle, 30% of Americans think they could beat an eagle in hand-to-hand combat. A large dog coming in at 23%. Chimpanzee at 17%. Let me just tell you this right now, folks. You
Nope.
are not beating a chimpanzee
Nope.
in hand-to-hand combat. They will rip your face off and eat it in front of you. Just saying.
People severely underestimate how strong chimpanzees
And then I'm going down this list. Look, king cobra, 15%. Kangaroo, 14% of Americans think they can beat up a kangaroo. Come on. Have you seen a kangaroo?
I love the
They're
picture.
jacked.
I love the picture they used for that.
Yeah,
it's like guy punching that
the kangaroo when he's...
If you haven't seen that video in your life, please do yourself a favor and find it.
So a wolf coming in at 12%, crocodile at 9%. Now that's just Steve Irwin inserting some confidence in everyone right there.
Yeah, too many people watch that.
People just see that guy screwing around with Crocs and gators, and they're like,
Not that bad.
I got that. That's no problem. Gorilla. 8% of Americans think they could beat up a gorilla.
See, you notice that just the sheer size of a gorilla makes more people think that they can't fight that. That's why I'm saying people underestimate how strong chimpanzees are because they're like, oh, they got skinny arms, they're small. No, dude.
No.
All monkeys will tear you up.
Yeah. They're swinging from trees, people. Come on. Like, they're jumping around in trees. So gorilla, though, surprised me because I would think that gorilla would be probably last on the list. No, grizzly bear was last, but you still have an elephant at 8%. 8% of Americans think they can beat up an elephant. First of all,
How?
an elephant's not going to do anything to you. Second of all, it's going to look like a tank. Like,
If
you're
it
just going to be
wanted-
punching this thing, and it's just going to...
If it wanted to crush you,
What are
you'd
you
be done.
doing? Why are you doing this?
I don't know why. Who is this 8% of people? Like, what are you going to do to the elephant? You don't get any weapons, okay? And
8% of Americans think they could beat up a lion.
do you think that the lion and the grizzly bear being highest on the list has something to do with people being afraid of claws?
Well,
You know?
yeah.
Because if you think about a grizzly bear over a gorilla, you think, oh, a bear's got claws that just tear into your flesh and blah, blah, blah. So
Right.
maybe that's the thought process there. But
It's got to be. I don't know. It's crazy to me because some of that was just like, really? Okay. All right, moving on. I got a couple other stories here I want to talk about. First, let's talk about this one. Hundreds of feet below Missouri sits a 1.4 billion pound store of government cheese. That's right, yes. A treasure trove of 1.4 billion pounds of cheese sits a few hundred feet beneath Springfield, Missouri, having been stashed there by the United States government. Why? Well, that's kind of a long story. Let's just say that it's just weird. The Franklin Project is what the report is known as. It dates back to the 70s when a dairy shortage and 30% inflation surge on its associated products spurred something of a gold rush for cheese by the U.S. government. With President Jimmy Carter at the helm, it was decided that the only way to tackle the issue was to give America's industry, the dairy industry, a financial boost. A sizable cash injection of $2 billion in federal funds worked as the dairy workers churned out about as much product as they could, safe in the knowledge that any excess would be bought up by the government. Cheese was of particular interest, and it could be better suited for storage. And by the early 80s, the government found themselves with around 227 million kilograms, that's 500 million pounds of cheese on their hands. You could make a lot of mac and cheese with that.
I mean, cheese is like gold to me, so that at least the government understands its value.
Yeah. Well, and I just, I'm looking at this, and I'm sitting here thinking, so do they rotate the stock here? Is this just like, is this 50-year-old cheese sitting in a bunker in Wisconsin? Like, what is going on here? Like, what is really going on? Let's get to the heart of this. No, it's in Missouri anyway, not Wisconsin. But where's this cheese at? Why is it being stashed?
I see some of the comments here. People were saying, why am I got to pay so much for cheese then if we got so much cheese?
Exactly. Why is cheese price so high now when we got plenty of it in stock?
They're just holding out on us, man.
It's the same thing that's going on with gas. They got plenty of gas, but they're pushing up the prices because everybody wants to push to the clean movement. So they're like, you want clean stuff? Well, guess what? You're going to pay more for gas now.
And the poor Greg Kinns of the world can't afford those new clean electric vehicles.
Nah, we don't want none of that. We want nice and gas. Give me some gas, baby.
Motorcycle.
Another one that caught my eye here. So, anybody named Josh watching the program right now? Make sure you comment. Say hi. Hi, Josh. How's it going, Josh? This is for you. This is for you, Josh. Pool noodle fight over the name Josh attracts hundreds once again. So a couple hundred people grabbed their pool noodles and headed to Nebraska Park again this weekend to battle over the right to the name Josh. That's right. The event started as an online joke when Josh Swain from Tucson, Arizona, sent out a tweet challenging anyone who shared his name to fight over it. After it took on a life of its own, Swain turned it into a real event last year at the random coordinates he included in his original note, which just happened to be in, Lincoln, Nebraska. The enthusiasm from everybody here was just incredible. So he ends up turning it into an event. Several of the competitors this year donned costumes, including masks, animal suits, football helmets, and they headed out to Bowling Lake Park. That wasn't enough to dethrone 5-year-old Josh Vincent Jr., who defended his title as the number one Josh. That's right. So if you're a Josh out there, sorry, but you're not the number one Josh. That title goes to Josh Vincent Jr. Now, this was a great event because it raised over $21,000 for Children's Hospital and Medical Center in Omaha, and the members of the Josh Sellers wine label pledged to match that with a donation of their own. So, the hospital said it plans to share more of the donations with the Joshua Collinsworth Memorial Foundation that promotes water safety with its Josh the Otter mascot who attended Saturday's battle. I'm loving the Joshes getting together and coming together, and it's for a good cause. I think that's pretty cool.
I think what's awesome about it, too, is obviously the extra step of it being for a good cause is fantastic. But just the fact that people were getting together for something so silly, I love it. In a world where there's so much negative news and so many things that bum you out and stuff, it's awesome that people are like, hey, your name Josh? My name's Josh. Let's get together. And people really took to it and actually are doing this. And I just love that. I love seeing people come together for anything, and then when you got people coming together and it becomes a big thing and you make it for a good cause, it's just the perfect recipe.
Absolutely. So once again, hats off to Josh Swain for organizing the event and all of the Joshes who had a hand in raising over $21,000 for Children's Hospital. So great event, and I thought it was pretty cool. So we wanted to draw attention to it. So if your name's Josh, mark this date on your calendar for next year if you want to try to dethrone Josh Vincent Jr., because I'm telling you.
Doesn't sound like it's going anywhere.
Yeah, so. It's 2-time, back-to-back.
Put it in your calendar.
The best Josh there is. That's Josh Vincent Jr. Sorry, guys. If you want to change that title, you're going to have to go to Lincoln, Nebraska to do it next year.
Man, well, you know what? Who knows? By next year, maybe we'll go and cover it.
Who knows? Who knows? Maybe we'll be big enough by that time. All right, so we do have an interview. Coach Travis Kinn joined me yesterday about 6:30 at night for a short interview. We talked about boys hoops in the area, specifically Tiffin Columbian boys basketball, but just hoops in general. We talked about local basketball, but then we did a little bit of national basketball talk as well. Travis is a great guy. He's the one that reached out to me wanting to come on the show and help us fill some content. So I really appreciate his time with us. Once again, folks, if you're watching this video, before we get to the interview, make sure you share the video, like the video, and also follow us on all of our social media platforms. That's Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter. We have them all, except for, there's a couple of them that we don't have, but whatever. We got 5 different social medias.
How many you
Please
need?
Make sure you follow them. Follow all of them and share this video, folks. It helps us to extend our reach. Make sure you tune in later tonight as we have high school baseball, hopefully, here on Heart of Ohio Sports. 4:30 first pitch from Bluffton University. That is a district semifinal matchup between Tiffin Columbian and Ontario. Once again, coming to you live right here on Heart of Ohio Sports. Make sure you tune in right around 4:20 for the pregame show on the pulse of the Buckeye State. So without further ado, my interview with Travis Kinn yesterday. And thanks for tuning in here on Heart of Ohio Sports. This has been Mullin It Over, episode 45. Have a great day, everybody. Countdown or something.
You're good.
All right. How we doing, folks? I am here live in Studio Square. Well, not technically live. We're recording this, but we are. This episode's going to be live this morning. So I'm sitting down right now. It is Wednesday, about 6:20, and we're sitting down with Coach Travis Kinn.
How you doing?
For coming with me. Absolutely great,
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Once again, you and I have had some experience over the years. You've had, what is it now, your 7th year, Tiffin Columbian?
Be going into year 8.
Year 8.
Yep,
so I'm missing a year. Lost a year somewhere.
I get
it's
it.
COVID.
I get
That happens.
Although
So,
COVID was a good year, so I don't want that one to be forgotten.
yes, we're not going to forget that one for sure. But yeah, let's talk a little hoops. I'm excited to have you in the studio. We're getting settled here, so everything's still kind of work in progress. But thanks once again for coming in and spending some time with us.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Anything we can do to get our guys some exposure. They're a great group of guys. They work hard, and they deserve the recognition.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that group of guys. I mean, you got a really good group coming back next year.
Yeah.
Now, you do have some senior leadership you're going to be missing. Jaden Myers, Bryce Burns, a couple of big contributors for your teams over the years, but you got a really solid core that's coming back.
Yeah, we
Talk
do.
about the guys that you've got coming back.
June, just in general for high school basketball, June's a big month.
Yeah.
A lot of team camps, a lot of shootouts. Really kind of start to put together what you're going to be. Once July comes, we still shoot and stuff like that, but football ramps up, and then you kind of don't see the guys again until November, sometimes late November with playoffs and everything. As coaches, June's a big month for us. We look forward to it. Our guys are great about being committed and being there, and just making sure that we really start to take shape. But the guys we have coming back, I'm excited about. I think we're hungry. We ended at 19-6. We had a great senior class. I can't thank those 5 seniors enough for all the things that they did over the years, in helping our program get to where it's been at. But the guys that kind of had to wait their turn, so to say, are hungry. They're eager, and that's got me probably more excited than I've been in a while, because I know their level of excitement about the opportunities that they have and what we can do with the group that we bring back.
So you got a really good group coming back. We talked about that a little bit, but I mean, what are you guys doing right now? So it's the end of May, school's over. I mean, a lot of these kids are probably thinking, summertime, time to have some fun, but you want to kind of rein them in a little bit and get them shooting in the gym, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll be honest, right now we're not doing anything.
Okay.
It's the last week of school. High school guys got exams. We got 3 kids running a district track meet tonight. We got 2 kids playing in a district baseball game on Thursday afternoon, pending the weather, of course. But we're not doing a whole lot, just shooting when they can, here and there. But once June comes and we get a little bit closer, then we'll really try to put things together.
So June is the big month for you
Yeah.
then. That's when you guys start ramping things up as far as your off-season stuff, off-season camps.
And guys will come in and shoot, early April, early May. But then, once we get to postseason stuff, for baseball and track, those guys, they got to make that their focus. They understand that. They know that. Our junior high kids still come in here and there. But, I'm looking forward to the next few weeks. And selfishly, I want those guys all year long as their basketball coach. But, I know how much time and commitment they have with other sports and things like that. Our guys who don't do spring sports are all playing AAU too.
Yeah.
Logan, Shawberry, Garcia, those are all guys that are playing a lot of AAU. So right now our top 8, 9 guys, they're all pretty busy this time of year.
For sure. And you got a lot of guys that play multi-sports.
Certainly.
You mentioned those baseball players, the track players as well. You got a lot of guys that they stay busy during this time of year. But when you get into that June month, what do you really have going on? I mean, you got some camps going on, but you also have some challenges that you're kind of issuing out to your players, correct?
We'll start with we got 2 days of practice. Hopefully everybody will be there and be ready to roll. We'll kind of go through offensively, defensively. What we want to do. Are we keeping this the same as last year? Are we tweaking this? How do we want to do this differently? And as a coaching staff, obviously we have those things figured out prior to practice to try to set our guys up for as much success in the summer as possible. After those couple practices, it's a couple 2-day shootouts, a couple 1-day shootouts, a few scrimmages. Right now our first big thing in June is Finley Team Camp. They run a great camp. They have multiple dates. I think it's the 5th and 6th, the Monday, Tuesday we're going. I actually live kind of between here and there. I live that direction, so I got brave last year and had the guys stay the night at my house after the first one. So
that's brave.
They get dinner, they get to sleep an extra hour, which is the big thing they love. Got some air mattresses and couches in the basement. It's just a good team bonding experience and kind of bring us closer together and get to know each other a little bit outside of basketball and off the floor. And I'm really looking forward to that again this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys, over the summer, you're doing some things to even bring each other together.
Yeah.
But, you have to kind of temper your expectations a little bit because you've got so many different guys that are in different sports, and then football.
Yeah.
Football starts pretty much in June.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You start talking about some of the off-season camps that Judd Lutz is doing.
Right.
I mean, how do you guys work together? Do you guys have
Yeah.
sit down and talk with each other?
Yeah, no,
go over
I will say
calendars?
Judd's been great about working together with us. I know for a fact that's not the case with all the area coaches. In my experiences, a lot of basketball coaches have to fight that losing battle because football is going to win 90% of the time.
Right, in this area, for sure.
Certainly. But, as far as June goes, Judd's really good about guys lifting. We schedule our stuff so that they can get their morning lifts in, which we want our guys lifting too, so a lot of times they're there. But they get their lifts in. If we have something going on that day as far as a camp or a scrimmage, they're usually excused from conditioning because I assure coach and the guys will speak volumes this. They get their conditioning in when they're at camps and shootouts. So he's really good about excusing them from that. And, then they really get going in July and we kind of taper things off then and go from there. So it works out really well.
So really between July and say like October, November, you really don't have much contact with the players other than just, casual in school, that kind of stuff.
Gym will be open this time if you guys want to shoot. One of our guys coming back, Logan Beeston, obviously everybody knows about. He's great about getting guys in the gym with him because he's in there, 5 nights a week shooting.
Just recently seen a post from his mom having him play this last AAU game recently. So
he's had a heck of a spring AAU-wise. I was able to go out and watch him a couple times in, I think it was Fort Wayne. I watched him Friday night, Saturday.
He's got a lot of eyes on him.
As well as a few of our other guys, Zach Shawberry and Isaac Garcia were there. So just good to see them, playing and not really coaching them, but just watching them play and taking it all in. And, like I said, Logan and all 3 of those guys are great about getting in the gym. And when they're in the gym, they make sure other guys know. That makes my life a lot easier too.
For sure.
Because if they're willing to take ownership and say, hey, guys, I'm coming in to shoot, then either I just got to make sure they have a key or somebody's there to let them in.
Well, and this is going to be a big campaign for some of these guys. This is Logan's senior year. You got a couple other guys coming into their senior year. And then, you got the Rogo twins coming in their sophomore year. You've got a lot of talented kids coming up through the ranks. Now, talk about, there's a lot of buzz about this 8th grade team that's coming up as well. You guys got some talent coming up there as well. Talk about, in 7th grade as well. I've heard a lot about this 7th grade group.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of contact with your junior high coaches? Do you have any kind of,
Oh, yeah.
How do you keep in touch with them and how do you stay involved?
Well, it helps teaching at the middle school.
Yeah.
I teach 8th grade, so, I'm able to see those guys, have a lot of those guys in class. Once they're in 8th grade, the 7th graders I'll see in the hallway and stuff. Like you said, 7th grade group's a really deep group for us. Yeah. There's a lot of kids that they're hard to separate as far as where they rank in the pecking order. So hopefully they're working on their game this summer and can move up those ranks a little bit. But as far as the high school guys coming back, like I said, we're really excited. I don't remember off the top of my head what we averaged last year as far as points per game. I know that it was one of the better seasons that we've had at Columbian as far as points per game, and I think we have a chance to be better offensively than we were last year. So that'll be exciting. That puts people in the stands. That gets everybody excited. Kids love to score the ball. We'll have to be a little more strategic in what we do defensively, but I think offensively we have the capability to be better than we were last year.
That's saying something because you guys were really good last year. You had a lot of firepower, and you guys had players that play well on both ends of the court. It's not just offensive firepower, but you guys also were pretty well defensively. You did really well. Talk about your scheme. I've heard a lot about this, Andy Buhai and his controlled chaos kind of thing. Do you really buy into that? Is that do you also take that with you into Columbian, or is this more of you've had a chance to kind of mold your own offense over the years?
I give a lot of credit to Coach Beeston. First off, he's been kind of put in charge of our offense the last couple of years. And he's got some great ideas as far as what we do. And I'll say most of the stuff we run comes from what he has ran or he has seen. So that's just a luxury that we have as far as our coaching staff goes. I've been very complimentary and gracious to have, so much experience on our staff. It's just set our guys up for more success. But as far as our, controlled chaos like Heidelberg might have, it's not really controlled chaos. We just want to create more possessions. That's right. Defensively, we don't want to give up easy layups or inside-out threes, but We want to speed the other team up. We want to create more possessions. We think we're the more talented, better team. So the more possessions in the game that we have, the more likely we are to outscore teams. Now, it's not to say that we don't do stuff defensively. You know, we have specific things that we work on and we try to do to try to speed those teams up and be as efficient as possible and get stops. But for us, the more possessions in a game, the better. And I think, you know, that will carry over into this year. That was a philosophy we had last year as well. And I think you really saw at the end of the year teams try to slow us down as much as possible and kind of muck the game up a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and make it more of a football game more than a basketball game, so that would take away and negate some of our skills. So like I said, we want to play in open space and play as fast as possible.
Okay, so Coach, we've talked quite a bit about basketball here just in the short time we've been here. You're a basketball guy, obviously.
Yeah.
Do you follow basketball outside of high school sports? Do you, obviously, you know, you have some interest in the game.
Yeah.
What do you follow as far as college, pro? Do you have a team that you follow? Is it just more like a love for the game? You just like watching the good games?
I just, you know, I grew up for whatever reason, fell in love with playing basketball and watching basketball. And it's been something that has always been a big part of my life. I mean, since I was in 6th grade, I think, is the first time I ever played like organized basketball. You know, so you go into junior high, you go into high school, you play at college, you start coaching once you get a job. Like, it's been a part of my life since 6th grade and even before then. So as far as who I watch, I mean, I don't have a favorite NBA team. When I was a kid, you know, I rooted for certain guys and was a big Jordan fan, as most people around my age are. You know, the NBA stuff, I don't watch a whole lot of regular season. But man, you watch the NBA playoffs and those guys are skilled. Yeah, they can shoot, they can score. It's impressive to watch the level of skill in today's game in the NBA. You know, college, you know, I root for the Buckeyes. I watch as much as possible. A lot of the college season more overlaps with our season, which makes it a little tougher to watch games. But if I don't have something going on and there's a game on, you know, at 2 interesting teams, I'll watch. And I always chuckle. My wife says, "Well, who are you rooting for?" Nobody. I'm just watching to watch. And,
I'm rooting for a good game.
Root for a good game and maybe pick something up that we can steal or, you know, look at and try to add to our arsenal. So it's just something that I've always been interested in, and, you know, I don't know why that is, but it's worked out pretty well.
Well, that's cool that you have an interest in the game and not necessarily a team. You know? I think that's really cool. Mm-hmm. So college basketball wise, do you get excited around March? I mean, is this the March Madness thing? Is that something that you buy into? Because myself, I love basketball. I love the game of basketball. Yeah. And that time of year, for whatever reason, I mean, you got all these different postseason elements involved, but that's when it really just, I mean, it gets to you. You know, you feel it.
Yeah, it's fun watching those teams that maybe you've never heard of or you haven't really seen play. You know, like, what was it, St. Peter's this year? Yeah. Just go on those runs and you know, those guys are so skilled, and teams put in so much work throughout the course of a year. You know, whoever's playing well at that time and peaking at the right time, that's a big part of it. And, you know, who would have thought St. Peter's would have beat Kentucky? Right. I mean, you know, nobody. John Calipari makes more money than St. Peter's whole coaching staff and probably half their school. You know, so to see them go in and knock them off, like, it's just cool to watch. And, you know, obviously everybody loves an underdog story and to root for the underdog. But, you know, in March Madness, I think college basketball, too, has just gotten so balanced, and there's so many skilled players. And even if you watch a Division II game or Division III game, I don't think the average person really realizes how skilled those guys are when they play. For real. And how good you have to be to play college basketball. Because not only do you have to be skilled, but you got to fit, you know, this profile of if I'm a point guard, I got to be 6'1". You know, if it's Division I level, you got to be 6'4". Yeah. If you don't meet that criteria, you're probably not getting looked at a lot of times, regardless of how good you are. So it's just tough to I think get into college basketball, and the guys that do are really highly skilled. I
mean, you got a little bit of college experience yourself. I mean, you know, not at the D1 level, you know, but I mean, still, you played 4 years in college basketball.
I don't go to many Heidelberg games with our schedule, but when I do, I wonder how I was able to play. Those guys, I'm telling you, like, they are so big, so fast, so athletic, and I'm just sitting there watching like, man, that is impressive.
I mean, you held your own.
Obviously, athleticism was never my thing, you know, but just having an understanding of the game, I think, allowed me to do some things that, you know, I could hide some of my deficiencies athletic-wise. But, man, yeah, watching those guys, it's impressive, just how fast they are and how athletic they are and the skill level, too. It's amazing.
Well, Coach, any other things that you want to talk about here? Because I know you got a meeting coming up. I don't want to keep you too much of your time here, but I mean, I'm really excited to have you on. I really want to turn this into a monthly or even a weekly thing. Just sit down, talk hoops with you. Not necessarily even local hoops. We could just talk about hoops in general. If you've got a topic you want to talk about, say there's something that you noticed in practice or something, or maybe a parent's talking about something that you want to bring up. Absolutely, I'd love to have you on more often, and maybe we can invite some other coaches on and have a little coaches roundtable.
Yeah, I'd be happy to help. And, like I said, anytime we can get our guys' names out there and get some recognition, they do so much for our program, so much for our community. You've been to the games on Friday nights for football. What football and I say football because so many of our athletes play football too. But basketball and baseball is having a hell of a season. Just what those guys do for our community and the spirit of this town. It's really something I admire, and I see them put in the work every day. So anytime I can come on and help get them some recognition, I'm happy to.
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, thanks for coming on with me today. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to hanging out with you again.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, Travis Kinn, Columbian boys head basketball coach, coming on with us. Thanks again for tuning in here on Mullin It Over. Stick around. We got more coming up after this.